Hi everyone, Kevin here. Today I want to walk through how you can negotiate the best possible starting salary. Now this will be helpful if you're first starting out in your career, you just graduated from college, and this is going to be your first job. It'll also help if you currently work for an organization and you want to switch to a different job. Whatever your case might be, today I want to show you how you could get the maximum value and you could get what you're worth. Now, when I think back to my career, when I first started out, I really wish I had a video like this. So I've been at Microsoft for 14 years as a full-time employee, and I originally started out by interning at Microsoft many years ago. And my internship went well, and I got a full-time offer at the end of it. Now, keep in mind, I was a junior in school, moving into my senior year. I got an offer from Microsoft. This was my dream job, my dream company, and the offer was really solid. I talked to a bunch of my classmates, and my offer was by far one of the best. And what I did is I took the offer, I went back to the recruiter, and I said, I accept. Now, in retrospect, that was probably the worst possible move I could have done. I didn't negotiate at all. I didn't ask for anything more. I simply took it as is. And that wasn't the right move. And today I want to show you different techniques that you could use to negotiate the best possible offer. And how do I know these work? I've used a lot of these techniques myself when I've interviewed at different companies. Not only have I interviewed at Microsoft, I've interviewed at companies like Accenture and Amazon, and I've gotten offers from them, and I've successfully negotiated better packages. I've also advised other people on packages that they've gotten from companies like Facebook, Google, and others, and they have also been able to extract more value as part of their package. And lastly, although even as I've interviewed for different roles at companies, I've also been on the other side where I've interviewed candidates, and then I've been part of the team that's provided a package to the candidate. So I know what companies are willing to pay, what they're willing to give, what portions of the package they're willing to budge on versus what parts they're not willing to budge on. And today I want to walk you through what all of that looks like to help you negotiate and to help you get the value that you're worth. Now, the thing I want to start with before we jump into the tips and techniques is I want to say a little bit of word about value. And when you're interviewing for a company or when you get an offer from a company, it might be a little daunting to negotiate. Here you are, this individual, and you might think, hey, I'm going up against this big company and I have to negotiate with them. That's going to be really hard. You know, what they gave me seems pretty good. I should just accept it. Well, one thing to think of is when a company offers you a package, the package isn't as much as what the company is going to get from you. So in a sense, the value that the company is exchanging with you is less than the value that you're going to be giving the company. So that's something to keep in mind. That's something that you should keep at the top of your head as you're negotiating. You're delivering a tremendous amount of value to the company, and the company's going to pay you for it, but not as much as what they're getting. So keep that in mind. And also, when you get an offer from a company, keep in mind that, and this is something that I've done a lot when I've interviewed candidates, it's hard finding a candidate who's the right fit for a job. Companies invest significant resources in finding someone who's a good match. You have people fly out to college campuses. They'll fly you onto campus to conduct an interview with you. They'll have people who work full-time within the company. They have very high salaries who are interviewing you. Companies invest a ton in interviewing candidates. And when they find a candidate who's a good match and you get an offer, that means the company really wanted you to come on board. So two things: the company sees a lot of value, they're going to get more value than they're going to pay you. And second of all, it's hard finding good candidates. So when you get an offer, you have a position and you have some leverage. You have a strong position and you have quite a bit of leverage. So keep those in mind as I run through these techniques with you. And so now why don't we jump into the different techniques on how you can negotiate the best possible package. All right, so tip number one with negotiating the package, and this is probably the most obvious tip, but you should definitely negotiate your package. If you just accept the package like I did when I first started in my career, you're going to be leaving a lot of money on the table. So number one, definitely negotiate. And some of you might be thinking, well, hey, if I negotiate, doesn't that make me look greedy to the company? Am I asking for too much? Do I really deserve that? The one thing that you should get clear in your head is that yes, you do deserve it. You're going to be working hard. You're going to be working long hours. You deserve to be compensated fairly for that. And the other thing I like to think of is When you negotiate with a company, now one thing to keep in mind is never before in all my years at Microsoft of interviewing different candidates have I ever heard of an offer being rescinded because a candidate negotiated too hard. Now, of course, there are extremes to that. If you go to the company and say, hey, I want a private jet, I want my own private office building, I want my own assistant, you might be pushing it a little hard. But if all we're talking about is asking for a little bit more money, a little bit more bonus, a little bit more stock, those are very reasonable things to ask for. And one thing to also keep in mind is from a company's perspective, if you don't negotiate at all, is that how you're going to act on behalf of the company when you're negotiating for the company? If you negotiate hard and if you ask for what's fair, at the end of the day, the company's going to look at that and say, wow, this person's a good negotiator. They're going to negotiate hard on our behalf as well. So if anything, by negotiating, you're showing really good competencies and really good skills that you're going to bring to the job with you. By negotiating, this is going to be the easiest money you ever make. Once you start a job, maybe you get a promotion every year or two, and maybe you get a 4 or 5% bump. But if you negotiate right up front and you simply ask for a little bit more money or you ask for a little bit more stock, chances are you're going to get it just by asking. All you have to do is talk to the recruiter or send an email or however you're interacting with the recruiter, and you'll likely get it. And that's the easiest money you're ever going to make. And I'll give a quick example. I was interviewing at Amazon. I got an offer from them, and they sent me my package details back. And the package wasn't as attractive as I would have liked it to be. So I went back and I said, hey, the team sounds great. The position is fantastic. This is the exact match of, where I want to work. But unfortunately, the financials aren't quite as attractive. And for me to really seriously consider this role, I need the financials to be a little bit more attractive. Amazon came back and said, okay, well, we'll offer another $5,000 a year on your base salary, and we'll throw in another $10,000 as part of your bonus for coming on board. And all it took was a simple message asking and negotiating, and I got a little bit more out of it. And so that's the easiest money you're ever going to make. So absolutely, you should negotiate. As part of the negotiation, one thing to keep in mind is you can negotiate salary, but there are other parts of a package. When you get an offer, it really is a full package, and there are many components to that. You're going to have things like the base salary. You're going to have perhaps a cash bonus. You'll get a stock component. And so there are all these different components. You get vacation days, you get 401k contributions. These are all different pieces that you can negotiate. And what you're going to have to figure out as part of the negotiation is which parts is the company willing to budge on versus which ones aren't going to move. And now one example is at Microsoft with a starting salary that tends to be pretty fixed and it tends to be pretty fair. But when you look at things like the cash bonus or the stock, there is some wiggle room there. And so those are things you could push on. So it's good to talk to other people who have also gotten offers to figure out what can you push on versus what can you not push on. And the recruiter might even share some of this information with you. So always try to get as much information as possible. And then also as part of the negotiation, now working at Microsoft, as we've submitted offers to people, and I think many companies work this way, when you get an offer, usually for all of these different components of the offer, there's a range that a company can offer. And so for the starting salary, there's going to be a range that it sits in. For the bonus, there's going to be a range that it sits in. And I think one thing that'll help increase your confidence with negotiating is to know that there is a range for these different values, and you could likely push it up just a tiny bit or push it up a lot. So keep in mind that there's generally wiggle room with all of these different values that you're getting as part of an offer. The second technique that I want to share is to interview at multiple places. That is by far one of the best things that you can do. When you have one offer and you have a certain salary, a certain cash bonus, it's hard to compare it with what else you could be getting. And to establish your market rate, the easiest way to do that is interview at multiple places. Now, a quick example that I want to give, imagine you go into Target and you want to buy something. So recently I bought one of these robot vacuum cleaners at Target. Before I checked out, I went onto Amazon.com, I went onto Walmart.com, and I checked the prices at these different places. It turned out Amazon was $20 less. Well, Target said, hey, we'll match that price and we'll lower it down to what Amazon is charging. And so I saved some money by doing that. Interviewing at multiple companies is the exact same concept. Let's say you interview at Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft, and maybe Google offers the most by 10 or 20K. You can go back to Facebook and Microsoft and say, hey, I'm really interested in the role. It was really a great team. I really loved interviewing. But unfortunately, the financials aren't as attractive as what Google is offering me. And for me to want to join the company, the role is great, but I really need the financials to work out. And the recruiter will likely take that and then increase your offer. Also, companies like seeing that other companies like you. It shows that you're wanted. It shows that you're desired. Other companies are also valuing your skills. So when you interview at multiple places, it also sends a signal that you're in high demand. And when you're in high demand, a company wants you even more, and they're willing to pay even more to have you. So interviewing at multiple places really helps. I also want to share a story. Working at Microsoft, I had a coworker who interviewed at a few other companies to find a new job. They interviewed with several different tech companies, and they received multiple offers from many different tech companies. And what they did is they used those different offers as leverage to extract more from their other offers. And what was really funny about it is, so there were two companies, let's say company A and company B. They went to company A and said, hey, I really want to work for company A, but company B is offering me this, and I can't walk away from a much higher compensation level like that. So company A went back and said, well, hey, we'll beat what company B is offering. And company B came back and said, well, we don't want company A to beat us out, so we're going to offer more. And it went back and forth a few times, and the final offer was way, way more attractive than what the initial one looked like. So when you get multiple offers, you're really in a position of power, and you're able to extract a lot more value for yourself by doing that. Along with getting multiple offers from different companies, I also recommend getting as much information as possible. So figure out, what do people generally make in the same position that you're going for? Talk to let's say you're in school and you're interviewing for different positions and you're getting different offers. Talk to your classmates to figure out what they're getting and what they were able to negotiate. The more information you have as part of a negotiation, the more power you have to know how hard you could push in different areas, to know which components of the package have some wiggle room. The more information you have, the better off you are. The fourth tip that I'd recommend as part of negotiating is to never set a number. If a company asks you, well, hey, how much did you make at your previous company? Or how much are you expecting to make? Never share a number. Instead, what you want to do is you want to focus on the value that you're going to bring to the company, and then see what the company comes back and offers. Now, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is if you go to a company and they say, hey, we really liked you. What did you previously make at the company that you're coming from? And you go back to them and say, oh, well, I was making $70,000 a year. What happens in psychology, that's called the anchor. And what'll happen then is the company will look at that and say, oh, well, the previous company valued them at $70,000. We think they'd really fit in well at our company. So let's make it a little bit more attractive so they join. Maybe we'll give 75, or maybe we'll even bump it up to 80,000. Now, if you didn't give that number up front and you didn't set that anchor, and instead you focus on the value that you would bring to the company, you talk about all the benefits, all the value the company will gain from you being there, maybe the company would come back and say, wow, this guy's worth a lot. We're going to get a tremendous amount of value from him. Let's offer him 100,000. I mean, think about the gain there. You started at 70, but you didn't reveal you were making 70. And now this other company comes along and believes you're worth 100,000. You just extracted a lot more value. Now, where you can use numbers is, let's say you interview at a dream company and they offer less than you're currently making. Well, then you could pull out the number that says, I really do want to work at your company, but unfortunately, it's less than I'm making today, and that just doesn't make sense for me. The company will likely come back then and say, okay, well, we'll boost it at least to the level you're making, or even go above it. So if you need to use a number, only use it if it works to your advantage. The last tip I want to share is, as part of any negotiation, the one thing you want to continue focusing on is the value that you're going to bring to the organization. So talk about all the benefits, all the ways you're going to help elevate the organization, all the ways you're going to be a great team member, all the ways you're going to drive new business, all the innovations that you're going to help deliver at the company. Always focus on those, and always make it clear to the company that, hey, this is going to be a good deal for you, because what you're offering me, you're going to get way more in return by what I'm contributing. And that's one thing that you want to continue emphasizing as part of your negotiation. All right, well, these are 5 negotiating tips that I highly recommend using. These have been proven to work in many different organizations across many different tech companies. But even if you're talking to a company outside of tech, I'm pretty confident these will work there as well. If you found these helpful and it's going to help you negotiate a better package for yourself, please give this video a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll get a notification anytime new content like this comes out. And lastly, if you want to see me cover any other topics in the future, leave a comment down below. I read them all and I'll add it to my list of videos to create. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed and I hope to see you next time. Bye.